Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I got a special interview with Julia Chatterley interviewing the CEO of MoneyGram. Let's check it out.
MoneyGram is one of the largest money transfer companies in the world, known for its local presence. Yet the rise of digital tech means it's also in a period of transition. Next stop, the digital platform, the key to staying relevant in the cross-border payment industry. I spoke to Chairman and CEO Alex Holmes and asked him to explain what MoneyGram does and how it's tackling broader digitization. Listen in.
The core remittance space, so migrants, hundreds of millions of migrants, moving to other countries to find opportunities, send money back home to support their friends and families and improve the lives of those in the countries that they came from. We traditionally have operated globally, through what we would call an agency network, so 350,000 locations in 200 countries around the world. But recently, in the last several years, we've been going through what we call a digital transformation, really trying to modernize our company and keep up with all the changes in technology and all the things that are happening, at the forefront of digital and communications and telecom and mobile and all the other exciting things.
Yeah, that is exactly the question I was going to ask you. In an increasingly digitized world, what proportion now of your overall transactions are done in some form via digital versus in store, in the local presence that you've talked about? What's the split right now?
Right. No. So, the World Bank is probably the foremost leader in measuring the percent of the industry that is moved digital. And so today they'd say, roughly speaking, about 60% of all transfers around the world are done still through cash. In our business, we're catching up quickly. About in the last quarter, we just surpassed 20% of our global transactions are now done digitally. So we've improved our capabilities quite considerably, really, in the last 18 to 24 months, and just past 60 countries where we have digital capabilities enabled. So we're very excited about that. We're leading that with a lot of online direct consumer platforms, a brand new app that we've rolled out, new technologies for us like transaction notifications, a really exciting, revamped, and enhanced loyalty program. And it's really driving a lot of attraction and really, in many ways, which is really interesting, Julia, a completely new customer demographic for us. About 85% of all of our customers that transact digitally were never in the walk-in space before. So you actually see kind of an evolving market, which is great for us because it's additive to both, the walk-in business, but also additive to the growth of the company.
MoneyGram stock is up almost 20% year to date, although that partial recovery comes after a steep decline in the previous couple of years. This year, the digital payment platform Ripple has invested $50 million in the company. MoneyGram struck up the partnership in June to make the most of Ripple's digital currency, XRP. Cross-border transfers can be notoriously tough, so I got right to the point with MoneyGram's CEO. Why Ripple? Listen in.
Most people probably really don't understand about money and the movement of money is that it's incredibly complicated to move money cross-border. One of the things that we talk about quite a bit internally is that, money doesn't actually move, right? Data moves. And so it's a really cumbersome process to run what we call the net settlement engine to enable the cash to be available in all of those markets for settling into bank accounts or actually paying out cash to consumers. And so we have a lot of what we call liquidity and working capital positioned all around the world, 122 different currencies, many different bank accounts and associated pieces that really help us to facilitate the flow so we can actually move money instantly, right, without actually moving money. So what's interesting about Ripple and what's happening in the blockchain and crypto space is for the first time, there's a technology available that has the potential to truly transform that capability and actually, move money with data, which to me is just, kind of magical in a lot of ways because that's really what the future is all about. How do you instantly transfer funds? How do you instantly sort of transform the business without all of this, as Brad would say at Ripple, with all this trapped liquidity, around the world. And so that's what's exciting about Ripple. That's what's exciting about their technology platforms and all the change that they're trying to drive and the innovation they're trying to drive.
You chose Ripple because you think they right now have the best platform to do this most efficiently.
I think they not only have the best platform to do it efficiently, but they also have the vision that I think encapsulates what we're trying to do as well, right? How do you drive down costs? How do you improve throughput? How do you drive efficiency and provide a better service not only for our customers, but also for the future and potential customers that are coming? And so, I think Ripple and its, cryptocurrency XRP is really innovative in that sense. They've driven well over 300 partners around the world. Some of those are banks. Some of those are other remittance providers like MoneyGram. And so there's just sort of an infinite possibility as you build out, that network and the associated touch points through that channel and through that capability.
Is it bringing prices down? You've said it's quicker to use their technology and their platform, the settlement's quicker. But is it also bringing costs down? Are you able to pass that cost reduction on to customers too as a result of using Ripple's platform and XRP, the digital currency, to do this?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So there's a lot of things driving costs and price in a market. And so if you think about, generally speaking, it should be very, very quick. It should be very inexpensive to move money cross-border. But the truth is it is not today. And that is largely because of the cost of foreign exchange. It's the cost of banking services. It's the speed at which you can actually move money and make these things happen. And so companies like MoneyGram have innovated for years to try to drive the best solution possible. But, as I was saying earlier, to have liquidity parked in all these markets around the world for the purposes of instant settlement actually takes a lot of working capital. It takes a lot of cash, and it takes a lot of forward thinking to pre-position money out there. And if you also think about currencies never really being stable, currencies are always quite volatile, and so the fluctuations in that is moving all the time. If a customer wants to send $300 from the U.S. to Mexico, we're giving them a rate. We're locking in that rate. But the price at which we have to buy Mexican pesos for purposes of settlement in Mexico, that could be at a totally different price point by the time we get to actually pre-positioning that currency. So if you're able to take that $300 that consumer wants to send and actually settle it instantly, real time, and give the same rate to MoneyGram that you're giving to the customer, it's actually a very, very interesting opportunity to streamline and take costs out. And yes, those costs then can be passed back to customers, or, as a public company, they can also be, driven to help improve margin and actually profitability for the company as well for shareholders. So, it's kind of a win-win combination, and it's also enabling, this instant speed of money, which is amazing.
Now, I asked First Move viewers what their most popular questions were, or questions for you were, and one that kept coming up was, do you own the digital currency XRP, or does MoneyGram? So I'm asking you. Do you own any yourself?
I personally do not own any XRP. And MoneyGram itself, again, because of sort of new regulation and reporting requirements, any XRP that we receive, we tend to sell about as real time as possible. There's a lot of changing regulation and accounting rules around cryptocurrency and the assets associated with it. So no, we do not hold for any period of time any crypto assets on our books.
MoneyGram has also done deals with Visa Direct to make payments straight to debit cards. It's all about the need for speed. I asked Alex if he plans to take the US-based service cross-border too.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the challenges, for us has been how do you compete with a free service, and that's really complicated. So, we've done everything we can to reduce costs, reduce friction, and improve our U.S. domestic product. We used to be one of the largest players in what we call the U.S. domestic business, which was really cash-to-cash payments across the United States. That market has declined quite substantially. Our market share has dissipated with the rise of Venmos and Zelles as we've lost market share to these digital players. And so for us to be able to push back and get that market share back is great. And the adoption of Visa Direct in the U.S., the ability to push money from an account to an account is an absolutely needed service. And so we are actually competing now and actually doing quite well. So we're very excited about that. And again, it's hard to compete with free, but we're doing the best we can on that, and I think our service through our app and that capability with Visa is giving consumers a connection and a capability that they've been wanting.
Let me see. Since he said he didn't have any XRP, let me just give him an XRP tip. Okay, XRP tip bot. There we go. What kind of gift we want? We are family. Which one should I pick? I think this one looks great. This should work. Perfect. Merry Christmas.
With Ripple today is in five corridors. We're doing things with Mexican peso, Filipino peso, Australian dollar, but it's still very, very small. And so, the impact on our business today, isn't where I think it'll be in 5 to 10 years from now. But where it is today is actually enabling us to think about how we can do this more innovatively, how we can actually drive improvement, and what it should and could look like in the coming days and months. And so, yeah, it's very, very new, right? So this is, kind of nascent technology. We're learning a lot as we've rolled this out. And really, in some respects, it's changing and innovating as we move it along. So it's new, it's very, very different, but it certainly is providing a lot of the tangible results that we want to see as we drive it forward.
You said around 10% right now of your transaction volume in the Mexican peso, US dollar exchange is being done using this method. How quickly can you ramp that up? How long do you think it will take before perhaps 50% of your transaction volume is being done via this, even let's say 100? Is that the plan to continue to scale it up?
Right. So we went live with Ripple at the end of July, and since then, we, on a cumulative basis, we just the other day surpassed $100 million in total volume that we've pushed through the platform. What's interesting about what Ripple is trying to do is they're really trying to take on some of the older processes, so traditional bank transfers, traditional SWIFT transfers in terms of how people move or companies move bulk dollars, right, through banks or however that may be. So what's happening right now is that these markets have to be built, right? So Ripple has a platform they call ODL, which is on-demand liquidity. And so we're trying to push our liquidity through that. But like any efficient market, you need a buyer and a seller. So if we're buying and selling, we need others out there as well buying and selling on the back end. So in some respects, it's difficult to answer your question because it depends on how quickly others jump on the platform and begin to adopt it, how many countries we can push and where we can get to. And so really it's sort of a volumetric, discussion around, the more buyers and sellers you can get to the market, the more efficiency there is, and then the more volume you can actually push through. So, we are at MoneyGram super excited about what we're trying to do, really push that envelope and the innovation associated with it. And we're willing to, continue to increase our participation in that platform. But certainly others are coming, but the speed at which they come will determine, how much volume we can really do and in what period of time.
Yeah, so your participation is being limited to the extent that they can bring others, whether that's banks or other financial institutions on board to be potentially the other side of the trade, to your point here.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So, if I want Australian dollars and I want Filipino pesos, someone needs to want to sell those and someone needs to want to buy them, right? So,
yeah.
So it's, but it's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. It's I'd say one of the most exciting things about it has been, this idea that, we can actually help facilitate the growth of this industry by actually utilizing our liquidity and our needs and really trying to help grow that business in lockstep with Ripple. So as you know, they are a large investor in MoneyGram. Right now they've invested more than $50 million in the past 6 months into MoneyGram. So, I'd say our interests are aligned and we're both working really hard.
Is that the point? I mean, the criticism here, and there has been criticism of Ripple and the platform, and it says that actually they bought your participation in the platform with that investment. What's your response to that?
Well, I don't think I look at it that way. I think I look at it as, two companies that can benefit from equal participation. And so I would argue that, Ripple sees the opportunity here to participate in the increased upside value of MoneyGram as our services and capabilities improve. And I think they see that as an investment that they want to participate in. On the other side, as Ripple expands and grows, being able to have a very close tied knit relationship with them is certainly very, very helpful. I am not going to, I'm not going to say that, it's not a joint effort here to try to build that network. I mean, Ripple has an amazing number of employees and sales teams out there every day, really, really working hard to get more participation into the network and into what they call Ripple Net, which is kind of the collective group of participants. But as I've spent more time with them and continue to focus on it, we have a lot of overlap in our customer base as well, and so that's exciting. So the conversations are starting, and the dialogue is very positive. So I think it's a mutual partnership. I think it's a win-win for both companies.
Based on what you're seeing right now, and I know it's difficult to predict, if we could look ahead to the future, could you imagine a situation where the likes of Western Union competitor joins and starts using the platform too, facilitates greater liquidity? Is there going to be greater efficiency for customers in the end as a result of using this kind of technology compared to what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting thing to sort of ponder, the future of payments, the future of the industry. I think blockchain is an amazingly interesting technology. I think there is, questions out there about, what is the value and future of cryptocurrencies in that space. What we're using, Ripple's cryptocurrency for now, right, XRP, is a medium of exchange to move from dollars to pesos, and XRP sits in the middle. What the value of all that becomes longer term, I think, is interesting. But what I will say is that to the extent that, we can perfect the model, that we can truly, facilitate instant flow of funds, instant money movement with the data, allow, a customer in, country A to get money into country B seamlessly, efficiently, quickly. I think it's what everyone is demanding. When you think about your thoughts every day with, utilizing, mobile technologies and phones, that access to information and data and financial information is critically important for just everyone in the world, to be quite honest. And so, yeah, I think others will participate. We are seeing other smaller money transfer players participating in RippleNet. Whether companies like Western Union decide to move that direction or not, is really up to them. But I can see this becoming a much bigger partnership from a variety of different firms.
Has it got the potential to replace SWIFT one day?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are large aspirations, right? So, I think when any incumbent has a foothold in the market for a reason, right? So, I think every bank is tied into SWIFT. Most major corporations are tied into SWIFT, and yet you continue to see, new types of services come along to try to compete with them and drive differentiation in the marketplace. And so, I think, whether you can ever displace or completely replace, I think is always an interesting thought to ponder. But certainly securing larger and larger pieces of that pie is definitely not off the table for sure.